Different version, but at the same time a very identical version of this is, I think, what we're now dealing with in this Rense situation. Here's a guy who is sworn to uphold the Bill of Rights, and who on his website in the years that I've been following the thing has run all of these articles against the USA Patriot Act and against the Military Commissions Act of 2006. Let's take that one, folks. The Military Commissions Act of 2006, according to Philip Giraldi of the American Conservative, our former CIA station chief in Turkey, and with far greater academic, linguistic, professional, and political credentials at his disposal than Jeff Rense could ever dream of. Philip Giraldi pointed out to many of us in an internationally syndicated article just a number of days ago that the Military Commissions Act of 2006 basically empowers an American citizen to be detained indefinitely on the charge of being guilty of material support of terrorism, when what that is not even defined. And we're talking about American citizens now, folks. They can be detained indefinitely, and without legal counsel, according to this Military Commissions Act of 2006. I'm quoting Philip Giraldi now on this. Now, is this not a draconian descent into the Stalinization of America? And if you agree with me that it is, what is Jeff Rense, as an alleged promoter of constitutional beliefs and values, as one who allegedly believes in the Bill of Rights, as one who presumably should have a certain understanding of his responsibility toward those who disagree with him, both inside and outside our movement, what is he doing threatening to sic on Mark Glenn and his family, the Federal Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI, and who knows how many other federal agencies? There is absolutely no reason why any legitimate person would threaten such a thing toward Mark Glenn or toward most of the rest of us in this movement. I don't mind somebody who's willing to go on the record, and maybe Rense is going to do this, saying, you know, Dankoff, I think you're a jerk. That's fine. So you think I'm a jerk. You've exercised your First Amendment right. I, in return, am saying that I think you're an irresponsible jerk. I've just exercised my First Amendment right, and we shake hands, call it a day, move on to more significant stories, each of us. However, I presume, absolutely because of what I know of myself, and more importantly for purposes of this conversation, what I have known about Mark Glenn through all the time that we have worked together in the last 5 or 6 years, that if Mark Glenn was on the other side of this debate and Mr. Rense was on Mark's side of the debate, Mark Glenn would not be threatening to use an illegitimate tool like this without justification against Mr. Rense and his family. And folks, you need to evaluate what this says about Jeff Rense, but more importantly, you need to evaluate, for those of you who have been involved in that news service for whatever period of time, what your own vulnerability could be to what is being suggested here. Are you going to end up like those folks in Pennsylvania who have been unlawfully spied upon by the Institute of Terrorism Research and Response, this Israeli-based outfit in Philadelphia that Ed Rendell has sicked upon legitimate people left, right, and center up there, only to back away from it once it's exposed? You going to be like that? Are you potentially going to be victimized in a situation like that yourself? And not by an Ed Rendell whose ideological colors are very clear, but a guy like Jeff Rense who claims to be, and who has been up to this point, considered to be one of the most significant flagship leaders in the American populist right. Folks, I think that he has absolutely at this point disqualified himself from that status and from that claim unless he issues a private apology to Mark Glenn and his family and indicates publicly that he has done so. And perhaps the best thing that I've come across in the last 24 hours that puts into perspective what I'm feeling about Mr. Rense at this point, we might take a look at what Waqar Rizvi has said, one of the news anchors of Press TV in Tehran. Quoting an Islamic source that I am not familiar with, an individual named Ali ibn Abi Talib, I think is maybe the way that this is pronounced. Dr. Talawi could clarify my presumably atrocious pronunciation there. But this particular source that Waqar Rizvi of Press TV in Tehran quotes today on his Facebook page presumably applies to Jeff Rense here. Quote, if someone's deeds lower his position, his pedigree cannot elevate it. If someone's deeds lower his position, his pedigree cannot elevate it. Think about it, folks. That's coming from an Islamic source, presumably, and it's a pretty good quotation to apply to this conversation today regarding Mr. Rense.
Well, you know, Mark, the thing that you brought up before about Rense issuing an apology to me, whatever, you see, it is not an issue of hurt feelings here. I mean, imagine if you were to, imagine that you had a teenage daughter, okay, and you look out your window and you see something moving in the woods, and you see that it's your neighbor, okay, your 48, 49-year-old neighbor, and he's got a pair of binoculars, and he's trying to conceal himself behind a tree, and he's peering up into your daughter's window, okay? Now, you go out and confront him, and then what you find out is that he's been sitting here watching your daughter undress, okay? You realize at that point that even though this man has not laid a hand on your daughter, that he's dangerous, okay? He's a peeping Tom. He is probably a pedophile. And even though nothing substantially, no substantial evil has really taken place other than the fact that he has invaded your daughter's privacy, nevertheless, you know what his tendency is, okay? He's not the kind of guy that you would allow to be in the presence of any of your children, or really shouldn't be in the presence of any young children at all. And him apologizing for doing that, yeah, I'm really sorry for leering at your daughter like that, no apology has any bearing on anything like that. The man is dangerous. Now, as far as Jeff Rense goes, when he made this threat against my family, and let's face it, just a few miles up the road from me, it was the FBI who went and blew the head off of a woman who was holding a baby, and who shot a 14-year-old kid in the back, killed both of them at Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge.
Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, it was the neoconservative Human Events years ago after this happened, the neoconservative Human Events folks that corroborated in great detail everything that Mark Glenn is saying here. So keep that in mind. Go ahead, Mark.
So for Jeff Rense to have made this threat, what he in effect was doing was threatening the physical well-being of my family. There is no apology that would ever suffice in erasing that event. As far as I'm concerned, when he did this, he announced that he was at war with me, and more importantly, at war with my family. But even more important than that, Mark, is the fact that he has demonstrated himself now to be a dangerous element within this movement. Anybody who would run, I mean, let's face it, this is the kind of stuff, as you pointed out earlier, Mark, this is the kind of stuff that took place in Bolshevik Russia, where people would inform on their neighbors, people they didn't like. They would inform on them to the secret police, even though no crimes had taken place. Maybe it was a slight or an argument that had taken place years ago, and so had decided that he was going to get even with so-and-so, and he was going to inform on him, totally make something up to the secret police that would result in this person being hauled away and never being seen again. This is the same kind of